All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Manga Bums podcast, your only podcast for the discussion and debate of underrated manga from an inside source. We would like to take this time to remind you that we, the Manga Bums, do not encourage piracy and encourage all our viewers and listeners to purchase the official translations of manga wherever possible. We comply with all forms and practices of fair use and declare that our views and opinions are transformative in nature and do not seek to undermine the reading experience. Please support the official releases. And with that, it's time to begin the show. All right, everybody, welcome to our first ever episode. I'm here with Rinshan today, and so today we were just gonna talk about. There's probably a lot of questions. Like your first question is probably like, a podcast? What? Why a podcast? What are Sonickrazy and Rinshan doing together doing a podcast? What's that about? I mean, if anyone here even freaking has been in the community long enough to know who we are. But so I figured we just started talking about that. So why don't you say something, Rinshan? How you doing?
Yeah, hey everybody. Hey everybody. Who would have thought that me and Sonic are gonna have a podcast one day? Um, I'm sure some of you definitely remember the history, which was a little bit corny, rocky. It's been a long time. It's been more than 10 years actually. And we're
It
different
has, hasn't
people
it? Yeah.
nowadays. Yeah, it's been a really freaking long. Like, do you remember we started engaging or communicating when you still had the IRC.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
when you were holding like I think once a week the mahjong um games. I don't even remember like with which clan we played back then.
I'm sure it was Tenho. That was like the
Oh
only
yeah,
one. Like you could,
oh
there
yeah,
was no Mahjong Soul, there was no anything else. So I'm sure it was Tenho. But yeah, I
yeah.
remember
So
that. I remember you freaking
it was.
like the thing about that. I mean, a lot of you probably don't even know because you weren't around back then. But yeah, the first time that Rinshan and I met was on the IRC. We were like it was just a normal mahjong night. I think you like I don't remember my memory's fuzzy of the exact first time we met. But do you remember like the very first time that you actually like came to the IRC? Like what happened there? Because I don't remember that. I all I remember is like what happened
Oh,
after.
yeah, yeah. It's been so long ago. I also don't remember like all the details, but I remember like it was a bit like this. So basically, I got really, really into Fokomoto. I was like following everything, the blog, the stuff, and everything. And I joined on the IRC pretty frequently with you. You were holding these mahjong nights once a week. I joined. We were playing. Um, there is another. There's another story to that, like how I pissed you off with my
Right. Slow rolling.
with my yeah, with my
Yes,
slow rolling,
I remember that.
where you were where you were screaming in the stream like fucking
Yes,
Rinshan and stuff.
typing in all caps, like why are you fucking? So what that was is like he like as we were playing mahjong, like he would like I would play his winning tile, and he would like wait 15 seconds like before calling Roan, and like it would piss me off. I'd be like, what the hell? Like why didn't you just call Roan immediately? Why do you gotta do that? And I would freaking type in all caps at him, just furious at him, just stop it, and he would just do it over and over and over, and it was just frustrating and infuriating. And yeah
Yeah, I was I
I
was a little
I didn't like you
was a
very
little
much back
asshole.
then, I gotta say. I didn't really like you very much, but
Yeah, fair. It's fair because I was a little asshole. And what's even more surprising to me is that I managed to win back then. Because now I have like a pretty solid grip on the game. But back then, like I had no idea what I was doing. Like I didn't know all the Yaku. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. So I guess I was just too happy when the run button appeared. I was just too happy and enjoyed like
Oh, is
the
that what it was? Okay. Because it
yeah.
came
I
across
think
as you freaking like be like, oh, you played my winning tile, huh? Well, I'm gonna make you wait. I'm gonna make you revel in it, or something like that. Because it was just you did it over and over. It was just I don't know, whatever.
yeah,
But it's water under the bridge at this point. Um,
yeah. It was just like having fun once a week, also following your releases back then. But like the most important thing, which also changed my life back then, was the tournament. The tournament you
oh,
had where the winner, yeah, do you remember that? The tournament and
yeah,
the prize was you would translate one chapter,
right,
um, which
yeah.
the winner wanted. That's how it all started, basically, because there were people voting for different manga. Everybody wanted something else to be translated,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. Okay,
there and
right.
that's how Lions Ridge started. Because back then there was a White Line also in the IRC. If you
Yeah,
remember White Line, and
yeah. Of course, I remember.
basically,
I've met White Lion in real life. Yeah,
yeah, Osamuko was also there, and
right.
basically Osamuko and White Line pushed for Tetsunaki no Kirinji. I had no fucking idea what it was, and Koizumi, Mudazumonaki Kaika Koizumi. They were pushing for it. I had no idea what it was. I just knew, okay, I have some basic grip on Japanese. I see a lot of people want these manga translated, and they kind of. I was like, why not? I'm gonna try it. Why not? Like, if the winner doesn't want Koizumi or Tetsunaki no Kirinji, I'm just gonna try it. And I had no experience in scanlating back then.
Right.
It was just like
I remember there
just
was
like
kind of
why
like,
not?
yeah, there was kind of like a, like me and Denji got kind of like a little, I don't know, uppity about the fact that it wasn't just that you were like, oh, if nobody takes if it doesn't win, then I'm gonna do it. It was kind of like you were already planning on doing it, like before the tournament had ended, is how I remember it.
Yeah, because I was talking to White Line and he was like, "Oh, do you know Japanese?" And I'm like, but back then, honestly, it was very basic. I knew the grammar, I knew how the language worked, but I had no vocabulary. I didn't know nearly enough like casual talk, slang talk, and stuff like that. So a script would take me the whole day back then, with dictionaries, with research on the internet, with triple checking what it means and stuff. Nowadays it's a lot better, but back then it was an attempt. We did Koizumi actually first.
Okay.
Nowadays, when I look at it, it looks like trash. Honestly, when,
Yeah,
when I
same.
look at it, I don't.
I mean,
Yeah.
same with my
Uh,
early works is what I mean.
but the fascinating thing was people said, "Yeah, cool. Like, uh, continue." And I was surprised. Oh, really? Like, you want me to continue this? And because of the positive feedback, we did then a Kirinji. Again, positive feedback. Then another, and we just kept going, and always the positive feedback gave me confidence. I learned the language more. I got more into inhalation and everything. And yeah, more than 10 years later, here I am with with you on the podcast.
Right. I mean, yeah, I guess it kind of was a little dumb in the first place to freaking because the way that like I looked at it was kind of like almost like you just kind of like took Kirinji, right? Like you just like we were like it was one of the options for like the tournament. It was like if the winner won, they could have picked Kirinji, but you were like it just seemed to me at the time like you were just kind of like so I'm just gonna do it, and that kind of like that's the way that me and Denji took it, and for a long time, me and Denji were kind of like talking about that and just like like I don't know if he's even still over it. It was just kind of crazy to think about, but yeah, it's just like the more I
Well,
talked about it to people, the more they were like, that doesn't seem like such a big deal, and I was like, I would just kind of like brush it off at first, but like as I thought about it more
well,
and more, I was like, you know what, maybe it isn't such a big deal, and
Well, I'll be honest with you. Back then, I had no idea what the fuck Kirinji is. I had no idea what Koizumi. I mean, I knew about Koizumi because of the memes, and I watched one short animated stuff, but I had no idea about these manga. I basically was very bored. I had a lot of free time. I was still studying back then. I didn't have any responsibilities. I finished like my self study of Japanese over like 4 or 5 years with stuff on the internet and different like textbooks. And I was like, you know what?
Right.
I want to try translating Japanese. So for me personally, it was mostly about trying to improve my Japanese and to see if I can use the level of Japanese I had to translate it to English.
Right,
That
because
was like my main.
you already spoke four languages at that point, right?
Wait wait a second. English, German.
Or yeah,
Well,
English,
three
German.
and a half. Yeah, 3.5 because I wasn't that good at Japanese, as I said, because
Right.
I did understand the grammar and the syntax and the language itself. I understood how it works very well, but my vocabulary and especially the slang talk. So if like some verb was like contracted, like you
Yeah,
know what I mean, like if yeah,
uh
and that was
like
so confusing at the
Korea instead of korewa or something like that.
exactly. Instead of like nani koto wa like nante kota, and
Nante
I'm
kocha.
like just looking at it. Yeah, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Then I
Yeah.
have to research on the internet, like yeah. But it was just me being very like eager to improve my Japanese and to put it to the. It wasn't really about stealing some series or um, something like that because as
Right.
I said, I really didn't know about these series a lot. But then I fell in love with Kirinji as I did it. It was like a coincidence.
Yeah, and I mean that was great because as I kind of like honestly what I thought of us as rivals for a long time. I thought of us as like really just kind of like you were doing your series, I was doing my series. I didn't pay any mind to you for a long time and I just was doing my thing. And then like I woke up one day and I looked over and I'm like he did all of Kirinji and he did like a ton of Koizumi and like he's been doing this nonstop. Like honestly, like when you picked it up the first time, I was expecting you to maybe do like two or three chapters, but no, you kept doing it. Like it was like year after year after year. I'm like, is Rinshan still there? Yep, he's still doing it. And it was just at a certain point, I just had to respect it. I just had to freaking be like, this guy is dedicated to what he's doing. He's doing a good job. I looked over the work that you were doing and I was like this all looks good, it all looks like really well done, and at a certain point I had to just be like hats off to you, but yeah.
Well, that's interesting because for me it was like the opposite. For me it was like um, you said rivalry. For me it was basically something like this, like oh look at Sonic, like Sonic's the big guy. He's like responsible for all the translations. Fukumoto Crazy is his blog. He's like the main guy. I'm like, who does he think he is? Like, blah blah blah. And then over the, for me it was opposite because over the years where I also translated and got into scanlation, my respect for you just like increased over the time. I was like,
Right.
holy shit, this guy is a fucking legend. Like I, like. And then once I myself had like my escalation group and my little I don't know, maybe 300 chapters, 200 chapters, whatever, and then I looked and like, oh my god, this guy has like 1,000 chapters. Wow, wow. And then
Yeah, I pretty
then
much
I was like,
sacrificed my whole life to it. So
yeah, and then I was
that
like,
comes with its
oh,
downsides too.
yeah,
um
and then I was like, oh my god, I'm such an asshole in the IRC. Like, I feel bad about it, and I'm glad like we made up and everything's fine now, and we can have a podcast in 2022.
I know it's been a long time coming, very long time
Yeah.
coming. But yeah, eventually just one day I just kind of like I just yeah, I was thinking about it because like I I don't know if I want to get into. Uh, well, sure, I'll say it. Like like because I became a Christian, and like I kind of like wanted like part of being a Christian is you have to forgive people, and so like in my mind I was who do I have to forgive? And it was like, you had always been up there, like even like before I became a Christian, I was like, maybe I should just get it back in touch with this guy. But like it was like part of it was that, and part of it was just I had such a immense respect for you, and part of it was just like I just freaking I don't know, I just wanted to like put an end to it. So I just, I came into your Discord and I was like, just so you know, everything's cool, and I respect what you do. You've done a really great job, and you know, hats off to you. All that, and then that was it. And I think you responded with something like, thanks, Sonic. It's good to hear that from you after all this time, and and that was all it was for a while. But then eventually we just
Um,
started talking and conversing more. Like I forget
can I
exactly
say
how it happened, but
can I say like I don't want to speak for you. I don't know if you're gonna agree, but I would say just that over the years we just like grew up, like we matured over the years and understood that that stuff we had like on the IRC and these mahjong games and the scanlation rivalry. It's just like it's so small.
it's
Like
petty. It's
why?
very petty. Yeah. It was like I was
Yeah,
childish too. I was
yeah.
like thinking like, "Oh, who's this guy?" I was like, just getting worked up over some little thing. Like there's way more important stuff in the world than someone freaking waiting 12 seconds to declare Roan on you in Mahjong, It's not it's nothing. It's nothing in the grand scheme of things, and um
Yeah, and I'm really glad that we're like having this podcast. So instead of like talking all the time about how we made up, how about we talk how, for example, first of all, you, how did you get into Fukumoto, and then after that I will tell my story.
okay. Um yeah, I mean what it was for me is just I don't know. Like I read Liar Game. That was like my first kind of like gambly type manga. And then I wanted something else, and I was like, "Oh, Kaiji, what's this thing?" And then I freaking watched that, and then I loved it. I finished it in one night. Um, hey, Megma, thanks for the sub. Thanks, man. I mean, yeah, Megma's been a long time viewer, but anyway, sorry. I don't know how to deal with this because like I don't want to freaking interrupt. I want to thank them, but I don't want to like interrupt my train of thought.
No, no,
Um,
no, thank him. I'm also thanking. It's great.
yes. I was saying, oh yeah, so basically like yeah, I was just I got into Kaiji, and like I wanted to see how it continued. I wanted to see how it continued. So like,
You
Hawks and
mean
Zawanons did part 2, but then after that
wait.
they I
So sorry to interrupt.
oh sure.
So you first got into the anime, and then from the anime you got into the manga.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Because there was no manga translation at that time. Certainly
Okay.
not of part 1. Um so yeah, I basically, the anime was all I had, so that's what I watched, and I wanted to see what happened next, so I started reading the manga, and at the time I got into the manga, it wasn't even fully part 2 was not even fully scanlated. Like
Mm.
like I was like, just freaking on the edge of my seat at the end of every week, because like Zawanons and Hawks would probably release maybe, oh, I forget, like one or two maybe it was 2 or 3 chapters a week, I forget exactly, but so I had that experience too of like, I want to know what happens next. I can't wait to see what happens next. Like just being along with that. And I guess I also kind of just like, I saw it and I was like, I just want to be a part of this. And it wasn't a conscious thought, but I feel like part of me, like burning inside, I felt this desire of like, I want to be part of this too. I feel like there was that aspect to it too. As I was reading Kaiji Part 2, as Zawanons and Hawks like put it out, like I kind of like was like, this is really cool. They must feel so proud of themselves.
So wait. Did Zava Anon, did they like just stop scanlating and then you took over, or did you
Right.
just
So that's what
start
I was
doing it
gonna say
yourself?
next. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So at the end of part two, um, people asked Hawks, "Are you gonna do part three?" And no joke, his answer was, "Hell no! It's about mahjong." No, I do not care about
Oh,
mahjong at all. That was Hawks'
now it
direct
makes
answer. He was like, "I nope,
okay.
I'll do Kurosawa," and he did do Kurosawa. I think Kurosawa was the next. He moved on to Kurosawa after that, and those scans of Kurosawa Part One that you see online, they're by him. So that's what he did next. But as far as Kaiji Part 3, it was anyone's game because Hawks directly straight up said, I do not want to do Part 3. And so what happened?
Now everything makes sense. Yeah, yeah. Now like everything is clearing up. Like yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Yes, and here's where it gets interesting because this is when a little battle ensues. Um, so, first of all, I had the bright idea of like, hey, I have studied Japanese for like 3 years in middle school and 2 years in high school. I could probably figure out how to translate this manga. You know what? Um, actually, you know what? It wasn't even that. It was like I want to find a translator, and I will edit and typeset this, and maybe edit the translation as I go. Just if I find anything that's wrong. I wasn't confident enough in my Japanese skills, so I kind of just wanted to. Uh, I wanted a translator there to help me, essentially. And so I put out. There was this freaking like backdoor like live blog page that like was just about Fukumoto and like the 10 scanlations, if I'm not mistaken, the 10 scanlations that you see online today started on that live blog. Like they just
Hmm.
it was a bunch of anonymous people that just freaking were part of that community and they just translated all of 10 for the hell of it and like people were receptive to it and they were like, "Hey, thanks, that's cool." And then they just disappeared. But in any case, that same live blog, I put up a uh, basically just a post saying like, "Hey, I'll edit and typeset Kaiji if we get a translator." And someone did respond. So I was working on chapter one. Like they were like giving me they were saying like, "Yeah, I'll translate it. Yeah, I'll translate it." So I was like, getting ready to work on chapter one. And as I was getting ready to work on chapter one, a group popped up called We Can't Decide out of nowhere. And I was like, "What? They stole it from me!" And I honestly, I cried a little bit. I'd like just because I was so excited to work on this. I was like, "Oh yay, I'm gonna be able to continue Kaiji," and I was like a little kid at the time, so I cried because they stole freaking Kaiji from me, and I went to them and I went to their forum, like their freaking like I don't even remember the site, fucking like forum blog, that's whatever. The name doesn't matter. But I went to their forum and I basically begged the freaking translator, please let me join you. Please let me freaking typeset for you. I want to do this so bad. Please let me help you. And they were like, all right, sure. You can clean. You can be the cleaner. And I was like, all
Oh
right, I'll clean.
no! Oh
and
no!
and so that's what I did. I for the first three. They did the first three chapters by themselves, and then I cleaned um the next couple chapters, and then for some reason the translator like he wasn't even that good at Japanese is the thing. Like he kind of like was like he had to do a lot of guesswork and stuff. So like he kind of dropped off after a while, and then this other translator who was actually a really well-known translator by the name of Hishobu Raiken. Um, he actually is the one responsible for making Hidan in Naruto swear. He was the scalator that decided, Hidan is a freaking like badass cool character. I'm gonna make him swear. He was the translator for Naruto back in
Can
the
I
day.
interrupt? Can I interrupt you for a second?
Go ahead. What's up?
Now I'm curious because Naruto is a shonen manga, and I never like even like did shonen manga or thought about it. Like, is it like prohibited to swear in shonen manga to say like fuck or shit or something, or
Oh.
is it like are there rules for shonen manga
Eh.
stimulation or something?
I mean, it's scanlation, so anything goes. It's not. It wasn't like he was the official translator. Don't get me wrong. He wasn't the official translator. He's not part of Viz or anything. No, he was the
Yeah,
guy who was putting like the scanlations of Naruto up on the internet back when, like, because I was following those, like because I was a big Narutard when I was in middle school. So I freaking
me too. Everybody was.
yeah, I did same with everybody, but yeah, yeah, but it was just he did the scanlations. He was the translator for Naruto of the scanlations. He wasn't official or anything. He did it for free, but he did Naruto, and he popped out of nowhere and was just like, "I'm just gonna translate Kaiji Part 3 for you." And I was like, "All right, cool. We got our translator." And so he just freaking dumped an entire volume on us, and I was just like, "All right, let's do this." And so God, there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to talk about here, and I don't want to freaking just rant about this all the entire podcast. So I'm
Yeah,
like there was a guy named
oh,
Scudios that was in We Can't Decide Two. Um uh
yeah,
and yeah, he and I became good friends. He was like part of the Fukumoto Crazy IRC for a long time. He's a great guy. He's doing other stuff now. I've talked to him since. Um, Project Bite Me came in at about chapter 13, and they just stole it from us. Like we were chugging along doing the chapters that Hisho Buraiken gave us, and then Project Bite Me was just like, nope, we're gonna freaking just come in and we're gonna steal it from you. And then they were very like overly dramatic with their like phrasing and stuff. They were like talking like they um you know sit your ass down in that chair. That chair is your new home. You're never leaving. Like that kind of like that. None of that was in the original, but they just added all of that in. And because of that, it took them a very long time because they were like very consciously like trying to make their translation as wordy and verbious as possible. But that's whatever. But in any case, Kazuhiko was part of that group. He defected. He joined us. Uh, Crump was part of that group. He defected. He joined us. And they asked me because like I had some Japanese knowledge and I was doing Akagi, like volume 12 or whatever, using the anime as a reference. They were like, "Hey, can you translate for us?" And I wasn't too sure about myself, but I said yes. Um, I could keep talking about this, but I don't want to make it too long.
yeah.
But
We
essentially
will.
that's the beginning, and then from there we freaking we just continued, and then like people came and left, but I just kept chugging along, and here we are 10 years later. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's the short word. Now I'm sure we're gonna have other podcasts. We're gonna get more deep, more like into depth about it. I'm also gonna because my story is very short about how I got into Fukumoto.
Yeah.
Um, I actually got into Fukumoto through Akagi, not through Kaiji, which is a little bit weird because most
That is
people,
interesting.
yeah, basically, I can't even remember how it exactly happened. Basically, it was more than 10 years ago. As I said, I was a student. I had a lot of free time on my hands. I was living on the internet and I was spending a lot of time on 4chan and stuff like that. And I think I saw some Akagi memes or something, or somebody on the anime and manga board posted like something about Akagi or something. Anyway, I only remember I opened a YouTube video of Akagi episode 1, which was the full episode subbed on YouTube.
Okay.
I watched the first episode of Akagi on YouTube,
Yeah.
and that that's it. I got addicted. I couldn't stop. I just like binge watched the whole like anime. And I was like, what's going on with Rushes? What's going on? Then I like looked on the internet, like what's happening? Why did it end so abruptly? Then I found your blog, and through your blog, then I like started reading like I'm not sure how far into the Vashizu arc you were back then, But through the blog, I also saw like new Kaiji, new Kurosawa and stuff, and that's how I basically got into Fukumoto. So first I saw Akagi anime, then I went to your blog, and through your blog I saw all the other works. And of course, then I saw Kaiji, and I'm like, oh, Kaiji, oh, it has an anime. And then, of course, Kaiji anime, like everybody else, I just got into it. And yeah, that's
Right.
basically.
That's interesting though that you started with Akagi. Um,
Yeah, it's actually very interesting because first of all, the art style.
right. Yeah. I mean, it's so different, right? It's so
Yeah,
it takes a while to get used to, but once you get used to it, it's like you really understand like the characters like the characterization is more possible with the art style, you know? Like you can tell a lot about a person's personality just by the way that Fukumoto draws them, you know?
but what's interesting for me is that, for example, during the time when I was also like crazy about Fukumoto stuff. I showed it to a few friends, and every single one of them said like, "What the fuck? This looks like shit. I'm not gonna watch it or read it."
Right.
Every single one of them. So I was
Yeah.
alone. But for me, I loved the art style. Uh,
Yeah.
like in the Akagi anime, it's just like from the first second, the colors, the music, the atmosphere, it's just something different. It was so different from anything else I've seen. I was so intrigued. I couldn't stop watching. And then here I have a like the main character, Akagi, is from the first second a fucking genius legend. He doesn't have like some learning arc. It isn't a fucking shonen manga where he has to train. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
He's just a
from the first
god from
second.
the beginning.
Yeah, it's like okay, this guy is losing against the Yakuza in a game I have no idea about it. Some Chinese
That
whatever
he doesn't
tiles.
even know how to play.
Yeah,
Or
and
oh
he
wait, no, you're
doesn't.
talking about Nongo. Sorry, sorry. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
Nango. Yeah,
okay.
Nango is like losing. Like okay, this guy's losing in some Chinese gamble, whatever. And then like this kid just appears,
Right.
and he's so brazen, so confident from the first second until the end. Like you never see Akagi fucking wavering or being worried or sweating, or he's always like so confident and smiling, and it was so different from anything I've seen before.
Yeah,
Um,
I would say like the coolest part about it is how like brazenly like how he's just able to like there's all this stuff coming at him, like there's police knocking at his door, there's police coming in like investigating a crime that he committed, and like he's just calm, he's stoic, he freaking finds a way, he navigates the situation perfectly, and he freaking like uses every single situation, like he cheats but the police are there so the Yakuza can't catch him out on it. It's just like it's amazing for the very beginning, and it's no wonder that it became so popular.
yeah, what I was trying to say that it was so different from anything I've seen before that I just got into it. I
Right.
and it's for all of the Fukumoto stuff. It's just so different and refreshing and interesting. And every series from is crazy. Like, okay, he's a genius. He's always 20 steps ahead of his opponents. Cool. But then you also have other characters like Kaiji. He fucking sucks. He loses. He's a loser. He's not
Yeah.
smart. So you have a character like that as well. Then you also have like you have all these different characters in Fukumoto, and it's like, yeah, that's basically how I got into it. There's no big backstory about me going on forums and stuff. I just watched the anime, found your blog, read everything, cried at Kurosawa
Yeah.
a lot. um, yeah, yeah. So sorry, but I don't have a big story. Then I joined the IRC, and we already said the mahjong games.
Right. Yeah. And we've
And the rest.
already gone through that. Yeah. It's
Um,
yeah, but I mean like the fact that you I mean you definitely like it's definitely understandable that you like were able to find such a personal connection in not personal, but like just a freaking what's the word? Like just that it latched onto you so hard that and it pulled you in, even though like nobody else around you was like even remotely interested in it. It still kept you engaged. And I feel like that's kind of like one of the themes of Fukumoto's works, really. all of them is that like it doesn't matter what the rest of the people around you think. It doesn't matter what the rest of the world is saying. Like whether it's Akagi, just working at like everybody wants him to be a famous gambler, but he's like, nah, I'm just gonna work at a toy factory. Or it's Kaiji, he's just like everybody wants him to. Well, does Kaiji have that kind of thing going? Now that I think about it, a lot of characters do. Like Guy, I
What do you mean
guess.
about what do you mean about Kaiji?
I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to think if Kaiji is an example of a Fukumoto character that doesn't care about what other people around him think. But in any case, like Akagi specifically. Well, let's just focus on that.
I don't
Akagi
I don't I
specifically.
don't I don't I don't I don't agree. I don't agree about Kaiji.
Right, I don't either. Yeah, now that I think about it, yeah, the Kaiji.
Because because Kaiji is like more like a normal guy, and at the beginning he cares a lot about what people think about him. That's why he's so frustrated at the beginning. Why he's like um, vandalizing the cars, and why he's angry at society because society looks at him like fucking trash because he doesn't have a decent job. So he does care.
Right, he does. Yeah,
And I
you're
think
right. Yeah, yeah, but all
Akagi
I'm
is actually
saying is that like
yeah.
I'd say like Akagi in particular is an example of a character that like it doesn't matter what the rest of the world around him wants him to do. It doesn't matter like what anybody else is thinking. All he cares about is what he wants, what he's gonna do, what drives him to move him forward. He has an unwavering heart that like just pushes him to do what it is that he wants to do. And would you say that that's kind of the one of the things that like drew you to the character, among other things?
Among other things, definitely, what drew me the most is that for the first time, I'm seeing a character who is just consistently confident in himself and consistently doesn't fear anything or anyone or anybody. Like when the scene with the when he pulled the revolver at
Right.
at
On
was he
Ishikawa?
Ichikawa?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Ishikawa, the blind man, I was like watching that scene with my mouth open. I'm like, what the fuck?
I
Like
know.
just and it's consistent. For example, I'm gonna take another character who's also like very smart, a genius, and confident in everything. Surely you know Death Note, like Yagami
Yeah.
Raito.
Yeah, of course.
So the contrast is Yagami Raito also very genius, very smart, very confident, but you see him from time to time shaking. You
Mm,
see him like afraid of L, afraid of this, and you see him worrying about stuff. Akagi never fucking worries about anything. He's just
yeah, even
like,
his own life.
yeah, he's just this one straight line, and it's so refreshing. And and even though you know he's gonna win, even though you know he's gonna outsmart or know something, you're still like on the edge of your seat. Like, how does he get out of this?
I know. Yeah, that's the cool part for sure. It's like yeah, like the idea of like how is he going to win? Um th- but you know that he will because he's just and that is going to be like something really smart, really intelligent, and something really like because the difference between like you could compare it in some sense to kind of like a Superman kind of character who like he's always going to win, but the difference between like a Superman and an Akagi is that the Superman like the writers like give him something. The writers give Superman something to freaking like work out of whatever situation he's in, or they give Batman something to like well, Batman is more of a logical character. I don't know where I'm going with this, but in
You
any
can't
case,
really.
with Akagi, he's gonna win, but it's just like how. How is he gonna do it? What crazy mind game shenanigans is he gonna pull to like get himself out of the hole that he's dug for? Not even that he's dug for himself. That like the the situations around him have kind of forced him into.
Do you remember? Of course, you remember, but the one scene which always stands out to me from Akagi was, do you remember him not playing mahjong but betting on this? How do you say it in Japanese? These um,
Uh, Ch-
even or odd.
Chohan.
Uh, yeah, that scene
Yeah.
where he is completely surrounded by yakuza,
Right. Oh yeah,
and
that's a great scene.
he knows he's gonna die, like, but he still says, like, this is like my favorite line from him, like, not you or uh, any force in this fucking universe is gonna change the outcome
Right.
of this gamble.
Not even if there
Like,
were a
you,
otherworldly monster that controlled all of the world from Europe to Eurasia, could he change the outcome of the gamble? It's even.
yeah,
And then they're like, all right,
yeah,
then die. And it's just like he would die there. He would have died there. I guess that is an example of like Fukumoto writing in a convenient, like it's very convenient that freaking Yasuoka and Ogi just happen to run in the middle and freaking save him. Um,
but
but
it's
uh,
also,
but it's
but it's
worth it
also
because of we see the
no,
fact that Akagi was willing to throw away his life for the freaking
what I love about it.
for
It's not
him.
like a Deus it's not like a Deus Ex Machina where it's like oh yeah he's so cool and like some whatever saves him, because it actually makes sense that the Ogi and the others from this other Yakuza family would search for him.
Right.
Like it makes sense that they would search for him and that they would like try to save his life because they
Right,
saw
because
how good he is at
just
gambling.
just a little bit ago, like it was like Yasuoka was like, "All right, we have to take down this vampire killer," which we later learn is Washizu. We have to take down this vampire killer who's been like draining people of their blood, and the only person who can do it is that legendary kid I met on that night all those years ago, and we got to find him. And Ogi's like, "Okay, I think he's at this Chohan parlor." If anybody listening hasn't read the manga, you should. Like, if you've just seen the anime, you should read the manga for that part because it adds a lot. Um,
Yeah, it's fucking great. It's one of my favorite scenes. It's so great. Like
yeah,
even if we spoiled it a little, just like him smiling while guys swinging a sword at his neck, like it's so great.
I know. Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. He's not smiling at that. I think that's the only time that, like, actually, I think, like, if my recollection is right, that's the only time that we see Akagi actually sweating. And I
Yeah,
think,
he is sweating. Yeah, yeah,
yes,
he is sweating, but he's not like desperate or like. I think he's sweating like from his like injuries. I'm also not sure. I would have to reread it, but I don't remember him being like pathetic or something like,
right. He
or
definitely not pathetic, but he was I think that was the only time that like maybe it was the outrageousness of what the Yakuza were saying to him, like because he won the gamble and yet they're telling him, no, admit you like say that you lost or else we'll kill you. It's just like the outrageousness of of the situation that he's in that he's just I'm at my wits end. Like normally I like my normal modus operandi is like I just put myself in these life or death situations. If I win the gamble, then I survive. If I lose the gamble, well, I die. That's it. Whatever. But here's a situation
yeah,
where he won the gamble and yet they're gonna kill him anyway, and he's just like, "That's
yeah.
ridiculous. How can this happen?" And he's just like, it doesn't make sense to him on some level because like
That
he won and yet he's gonna die, and he's just at that point he's just like, well, whatever. If you're gonna kill me because I won, then I'm just gonna go out the way I am. Like I'm not gonna back
and
down from this.
that's why it stood out to me, honestly.
Yeah,
Like exactly, like you put it into the perfect words, because this is one situation where it was out of the control of Akagi. Like even if he won, even if he used like his genius, even if he uh, whatever, like even if he won the gamble, the game, the outside situation still gonna kill him, and it's
right.
like he still doesn't waver. Okay, he sweats a little, but he still doesn't waver. He's still like nothing's gonna change the outcome of this gamble. and it's
Absolutely.
fucking it's legendary. I love it so much, that moment.
Yeah, because every other situation that he's like about to die, it's always like, he's smiling or something because he knows on some level that like it's because he lost. Or well not no, or well rather or because he has some trick up his sleeve or like even at the very end of it all, like when like Washi's is about to win, he's like, "You know what? Like I lost, that's all it is, you know." So it's like it's very different there. It's
And
it's very different.
there's also another that's like one of my favorite scenes from Akagi, like the Chohan scene in the manga, and of course the other one is the Urabe game,
Hmm.
which is it's so you know why it's so like amazing to me?
What's that?
Look, he has been sitting in the room next to the gamble. It was Osamu playing,
Right.
right? So he wasn't even there, and he just like came in, switched with Osamu, and the genius part of it, Akagi was silent the whole time. You were just listening to Urabe's thoughts, to everybody else's thoughts, how they were thinking, what they were focusing on during the game and stuff, and you didn't know anything what Akagi was thinking.
Right. And it's just yeah, and he's doing all these ridiculous things the whole time, like freaking like open reaching a Suonko and then not winning when his
Yeah,
opponent plays his winning tile and it's like, what are you thinking? But it's
yeah,
it's all part of his plan. It's all like just not giving information, not giving information. And when it finally comes down to it, he has his freaking upper hand and
and
he just trusts
why
his
that's
genius to get him through the rest of it.
why that's one the other favorite part of the series for me is because it builds up. Like you are confused, the characters are confused, everybody's confused at what Akagi is doing, and
Right.
usually you would expect again like some Deus ex machina, like oh it's just Akagi, he's just a genius or whatever. But no, at the end, Akagi wins. Urabe is like fucking has his fingers broken. Everybody's like confused, like how, what, where, and then at the very end, Akagi just lays down his thought process, and you're like,
Yes,
holy
he
shit,
lays
it
it
all made
all out
sense.
and it's like, wow. It's just a
And it all made sense. Everything he did made sense. Like, and like, holy fuck, this guy, oh my god,
yes,
oh,
that is so good.
fucking,
I love that when it's
yeah,
whenever like a writer is able to like just explain everything that happened and it all makes sense and it's all brilliant and like but there's no way that you could have like understood it without having it explained to you. That's just it's very hard to come by and Akagi is like one of the series that like it's very like evident that a lot of thought went into like the planning and like how it's going to come out, how it's going to turn out, and just the sheer badassery of it all too. Like Akagi just straight up like he's down to one tile. It's Urabe's turn. He has 14 tiles to choose from. He's like, "Oh no, what do I play?" And then Akagi's just like, "Huh. Well, you didn't draw a safe tile, huh? Well, it's over. All right, I win. I'm leaving.
yeah, and he
it's
just
it's
went,
over.
oh my
He's
god,
gonna play my winning tile for sure. Out of his 14
that's
tiles,
so amazing.
it's
Yeah,
just
that's
the
so fucking
sheer badass. It's just like where else can you find that kind of badassery besides Akagi? It's just nowhere. Like, where else
exactly,
is there a character that would do that? You know?
exactly, yeah, exactly, and
Plus,
it's a very unique. I mean,
yeah.
yeah, sorry, you go on, sorry.
I was just gonna say like the setup for it too, like the fact that like it starts out as like originally it's supposed to be a match between Akagi and fake Akagi, but like like fake Akagi just loses to this guy and like before he even is losing Akagi freaking walks in and he's like, oh, I see what he's doing. He knows what Urabe is doing. He knows that Urabe is like playing him and like making him think that he's
Oh yeah,
losing and he just figures that
yeah,
out based on
yeah.
one
You just
hand based on his discards and it's just like
and
that
you
too
just reminded me.
is amazing.
You just reminded me of another brilliant moment in Akagi when he beats the fake one the Nise Akagi, and Akagi just tells him one thing, like, uh, you believe in the fucking bullshit numbers you spout out, but that's not what a gamble is about. And it's so fucking cool. It's so
Right.
like, oh god, like so badass. Like the best word is badass. You're right. So
Yes, the most
great.
badass. Like, find me a
Yeah,
more badass character than Akagi. You won't.
that,
There is
you know,
none.
you know, that is grounded in reality. As I
Yeah,
said, there's like no magic bullshit. There's no magical powers. There's no Deus Ex Machina. It all makes sense in Akagi's brain. It's just that everybody else just doesn't get his genius. That's all. Like, but he's a
yeah.
genius, and
Oh, and that's
that's the
another
type. That's
aspect
the
of
type.
Akagi that I absolutely love. That's another aspect of Akagi that I love is that he's so smart that he doesn't have any friends because nobody understands him. Isn't that so cool too? That's exactly how it would turn out. It's not like it's like a freaking like a character that everybody loves because he's so smart. No, Akagi is a character that is literally so smart that he can't even relate to normal people. And
Yeah,
like
well, that's,
and
that's
so he's
all.
just
That's all
adapted
explained
this
in the
mindset
end.
of just like I'm gonna do
Yeah,
this and then I'm just gonna wander off. I'm just gonna do that and then I'm just gonna go do my own thing. And he doesn't stay in any one place for very long because he's like, who's gonna freaking? Is there gonna be anybody here that's gonna understand anything that I'm talking about? You know? And it's just like it makes total sense the way that he
but
is.
it's all explained at the end of 10. Um,
Right.
what you are saying is that even though Akagi is such a genius, he did have this. Like, I don't want to spoil if somebody didn't read
Right.
10.
Okay. So should we make this the point where it's like if you haven't read 10, then you probably shouldn't watch anymore?
No, 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 not at all. I'm just gonna say that at
I'm
the end
saying
of
because
10,
there no we probably do want to talk about 10 some and I'm just saying like are we going to get into that and if so we should probably let people know that this is the point where we're going to like start talking about 10 and if you haven't read it then you should you know.
yeah, honestly, Sonic, I've been thinking for years about it, like the difference
Mm,
between 10 and Akagi,
right, they do seem like
because
different characters.
10 is the only one who can match Akagi.
Mm,
He's the only person at the end of 10 who gets to him. And he's the only one which Akagi actually listens to and respects.
uh,
I
okay
well, I might be wrong. I might be
no
wrong.
no no
But
I want to hear this yeah like because I don't remember the ending of 10 all that clearly like tell me what you mean.
well, I've been thinking a lot because I think that Akagi and Ten are actually like the same coin, just
Mm,
two different faces.
okay.
I think that Akagi can relate to Ten only from all the characters he met. Because at the end of 10, when everybody is visiting Akagi on his deathbed, like one after the other, Akagi is basically like lessening them, or like, like everybody who meets Akagi at the end, like just learns something from him. Even though he's dying, he's
Right.
still
He's still,
like,
yeah, even though he's like dying, he's still laying out truth bombs.
yeah, like Soga is crying. Like Hiroyuki changes his whole personality,
Yeah.
quits his job. Like everybody's like still being taught by Akagi, except Ten.
Mm,
Ten is the only one who gets to Akagi and understands his lonely heart more than anybody else.
right.
Because, for example, the Yakuza boss, the one with the blonde hair in the
Oh, Harada.
God, what? Yeah, he was like threatening Akagi, like, no, you're a genius, you can't die, I'm not gonna allow it, and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
And
just as if that's gonna work on like somebody who's already prepared to kill
yeah,
themselves.
yeah, yeah, he doesn't really get Akagi, but Ten is the only one who does. And through the whole ending of 10, everybody's trying to like get a response from Akagi, like, what about this or what about that? Like, there will be a cure for Alzheimer's. Like, don't give up and stuff. But Ten is the only one who gets to his heart and says, living all these years as a gambler in the Yakuza world, like, aren't you lonely? You
Right.
know, like what you mentioned before. Like, aren't you lonely? Like, uh, and he invites him to live with his two wives and live a family life. And that's the only thing which actually touches Akagi, that he knows that he never experienced like a family life with people. You know what I mean? Like a
Yes, I know
comfy
exactly what you
family
mean.
life.
Yeah. Yeah, he was just
Yeah, and
so
that's the
lonely his
only
whole
thing.
life. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the only thing which touches him, and he actually cries at the end. But he's also fine with it. He says that's the price I have to pay
Right.
for living like this. You know.
Yeah.
And I just mentioned it because you were talking about him being so lonely because of his genius his whole life. That's why I
Right. Yeah.
mentioned this.
Yeah, that part definitely does does make sense. Yeah. What was the do you remember Mr. Gawa just said, "Do you have any regrets?" What was the one thing that Akagi said that he regretted? I can't remember. It was like 10
Uh,
it was like, don't you have any
I
regrets?" And
remember.
like Akagi was like, "Yes, I
Yeah,
regret one thing."
I remember. I remember. I remember. He didn't say I regret one thing. He didn't say anything specific. He asked him like, "Do you have any regrets?" And Akagi just started crying and said, like, "Yes, regrets. I do have them, but it's proof of life.
Mm.
It's
Okay.
yeah." And he said, I regret dying."
Yeah.
He's right. He also said it's dying, but also that regret is like proof of life. But yeah, he said it was dying. But I also think that the loneliness is also part of it. Definitely, I think.
Yeah.
I think. I might be wrong. I might be wrong.
Yeah, it is kind of like a interesting thought. Like you can get to that point where you're just so smart that you're so intelligent that you just can't relate to anybody. And it's just, the fact that Fukumoto understood that and understood, like he understood his character well enough to write him that way is just mind blowing. And it's just like that. It makes total sense that it would turn out that way. Um,
But I think. Have you read like Fukumoto's biography?
which one?
Well, it's not like official, but like in some interviews, he was talking about his life, like some background.
I've read some stuff, but tell me what you know.
I know that for most of his life, he was a truck driver,
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
and he only started like he always had a hobby of drawing manga, and his earliest manga was some romantic comedy stuff, not about gambling at all. But he was basically a truck driver who had
Right.
like a deep passion for gambling, even though he didn't gamble himself. Um, and I don't think that Akagi is like Fukumoto putting his own life experience that he's like so smart, such a genius that he's
Right.
lonely and that he had to like create. I think that the character who mostly responds to Fukumoto is actually Kaiji.
Or Kurosawa.
Well, Kurosawa is a little bit different because um well, Fukumoto was never that low in his life like Kurosawa, I would say.
Okay.
Even though he was driving trucks, I mean, Kurosawa is a special case. I would like.
I still feel like some of the stuff that's written in Kurosawa like it has to be like personal. Like, like nobody remembered
I
my
think,
birthday even though I
I
wrote it
think,
on the
I think,
calendar, but I don't have the courage to tell anybody.
I think Fukumoto put his life experience in Kurosawa when Kurosawa at the end was talking about life giving him the worst hand. You know, nothing in looks, in connections, in smarts, in money. And I think he felt in his life at some point like that, and he put that into Kurosawa. But I
Mm,
think he overcame it.
I see. Yeah, I mean,
But
as a writer, you have to put like parts of your personality into your characters for sure. Like not all of them. Like all of your characters can't be the same, obviously, but little bits and pieces of your personality, like maybe with Akagi, it was like not doing what people expect you to. With Kaiji, it was like never giving up. With Kurosawa, maybe it was like being lonely and like not uh like having no direction in life at some point or something like that, but like he takes that little bit of characterization that is part of his own life, and he expands on it, and he builds a character around it, and he builds different aspects of his character that aren't part of him, and expands upon it. And I feel like that's what's really beautiful, is the parts that like he invents in his head for his characters that make total sense and are believable and worthwhile.
You just made me realize something,
What's that?
that there's such a contrast in Akagi and Kurosawa, because if you think about it, they're like total opposites. Like
Mm,
in a way, like Kurosawa was born with nothing, as he said in the
yeah.
manga. Always ignored. He was always made fun of and whatever. He was like the lowest of the low. And at the end of Kurosawa, and I'm not talking about Shin Kurosawa because I don't accept it. That's
Right.
manga.
I
So
was very resistant to it as well.
let's just say that Kurosawa actually dies at the end of
Yeah,
yeah.
the way it should have been.
Look at the difference. Yeah, look at the difference. The difference is Kurosawa, who had nothing and who was like the biggest trash during his whole life, was happy at the end, and he said, "Thank you, everybody. At the end of my life, I feel so warm."
Right, because he used his life for the benefit of others. He
And
used
the
his life to
biggest
make other
contrast
people's lives better.
And look at the contrast in Akagi at the end of Akagi's life. He could have had anything. Like he could have had anything he ever wanted in his life with his genius. But he, at the end of his life, says, "Yeah, I have regrets."
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's the
Yeah.
complete opposite.
I know, and it's so amazing that he was able to write those two different characters in
Yeah.
similar situations, but frame them completely differently, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's fucking
That's what
brilliant.
makes me
And
love
then
Pokemon so much,
I,
man.
I, I
Like,
wouldn't even,
I have such a hard
I
time
wouldn't
explaining it to people, but with the stuff we've lined up today, yeah, it's just amazing to understand.
Look at this. Look at this. I know the manga more than 10 years, like all the stuff, and only now that I'm talking to you, I made this like connection between the like totally opposite characters and similar arc, but totally different ending for two opposite characters. I haven't even thought about it. I just like realized it now.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like there's just nobody to talk to about this stuff, right? It's just
Yeah.
like, and you need to talk to people about stuff to really understand the deeper meaning of it, I feel. Like, so it's really great that we're doing this today, and like you know and I don't know,
Because
maybe
I was
people listening feel the same way, like, oh wow, this is great that these guys are coming together to talk about this.
yeah,
So
nothing was planned, by the way. This is all like very casual, very
right,
spontaneous.
we were yeah, we were just like, we're just gonna talk about whatever. We did like a practice, like back and forth about like what we thought about Akagi, and then we were just like, okay, we'll stop it there, we don't want to go on any further. But yeah, this is all off the cuff, this is all. Yeah, but I mean, that's just what's great about it, because that's what's great about a podcast, is that you get to freaking you just get to talk genuinely, and you have to talk about stuff that's meaningful, but you just talk genuinely and openly, and freaking like it like interesting stuff comes of it,
Yeah,
so.
because I was mostly focused on comparing Akagi with Ten.
Right.
You know, exactly because of the scene with Ten and Akagi, where Ten is the only one who gets to him. And I was always thinking like, okay, what's like I was told they were like the opposite, but they're not actually. Like actually, Kurosawa and Akagi are opposite.
Right.
Um, Ten is more like an Akagi who cares about people.
Yeah, very much so. I
Yeah.
I'll say here a little. minor I'm just gonna be honest, a little minor thing I feel is that 10 is the kind of character that was supposed to be the main character, but he wasn't a good main character. So he was kind of like all this other stuff was added on top of him to make him more of a good character, you know? So I feel like 10 is a character that's kind of just more haphazardly like put together, in my opinion. Do you disagree with that?
Well, it's difficult because at like well, I personally don't feel like so connected to Ten.
Right.
It
Yeah.
like he's not like a standout character to me, but at the same time, Fukumoto put so much effort into him writing him, putting him like on the main stage. Like I feel there's a message with Ten.
Yeah.
Like the Fukumoto is trying to say something with the character Ten,
Mm.
and that's why it's hard for me. Like I want to say that yeah, he kind of failed with the character, but looking at how much effort he put into Ten, I can't. I have to believe that there's something which I just don't get about Ten, which Fukumoto is trying to tell people, but I might be wrong. I don't know, honestly.
Hmm. You know,
Ten is also a lot reminiscent of Fukumoto's earlier characters, like the typical protagonist type of like I'm gonna like save everybody. I'm the good guy, and I don't know. I can't I can't put
yeah.
much into this about Ten. I'm sorry.
I like 10. I really do. I like him as a character. I think he's a cool character. I love that he has all these badass scars from freaking like, defending people and like, he's such a good guy and all that. It's just but at the same time like he's like a cheater. He like wins by freaking like doing Tsubame Gaishi and freaking like Tenho Churen Poto and it's just like um it's kind of like it just doesn't feel
Sorry,
like
sorry.
Fukumoto really like had a good direction for his character at the very beginning because it's just kind of like is he a cheater or is he a genius or is he a good guy or is he it's just like it's just this kind of just big mishmash of like desirable traits just all freaking shoved into one character.
I just had an idea talking to you.
Sure.
My idea might be wrong, but I just had like this thought that maybe the both Akagi and Ten are geniuses, but the difference is that Akagi is a genius in a game, like mahjong or in
Oh.
a gamble.
Oh, and then 10 is
He's a
like a
genius.
genius at life.
Yeah,
He
he's a
has
genius
street
more at like
smarts.
uh, yeah, like street
Aha.
smart. Yeah,
Okay.
like the guy who's gonna carry a fucking Churen Poto in his fucking sleeve
Right. Yeah,
and just like
that's not like a gamble smart. That's like I'm just gonna win like through pure mechanics.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's like thinking outside of the box.
Right.
Like he's like thinking about how he can just make it happen using everything he has in real life, while Akagi is like the one who dominates the game itself and understands everything about the game,
Right.
if it makes sense. That's just an idea I
Yeah,
had.
yeah, and that
I
kind
don't.
of is reflected on yeah, if you look at the character that way, that's why like 10 was so like realistic with Akagi and like he was smart enough to know where Akagi was at the end, but also smart enough to know that like he was there was more to life than what Akagi was seeing and that
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there were more ways out than what Akagi was willing to venture the thought of doing because at the end of the day Akagi all he cared about was like I would say okay, I just had a thought. Maybe Akagi's only like he doesn't have any friends. He doesn't have any as far as we know he's never had a girlfriend or anything. He like he doesn't have very much of anything to value in his life. but the one thing he can feel proud of is his immense intelligence and his immense brilliance and his gambling prowess and all of that. And so I would say the reason that like he felt that once he got Alzheimer's and once his brain like began to like deteriorate, I would say that the reason that struck him so hard in particular was because that was his only thing that he could feel proud about. He didn't have any friends, he wasn't a a good guy. He wasn't virtuous, but he had his immense intelligence, and that was the thing that he could feel proud of. And once he learned that that was being torn away from him, he was like, "I'm out. I'm done."
Yeah, but Sonic, I'm sorry to kind of um, disappoint you, but that's all explained at the end of 10, and that's
Okay,
the match
it's
with
been a while since I've read
that that
it.
that's the match with Soga when he plays the matching game with the mahjong tiles, if you remember.
Okay, yeah, yeah, so that's all
And
in there. All right, yeah, like I
yeah,
said, it's been forever since I've read 10. I just remember the
basically,
basics. I
yeah.
remember like the metaphors and stuff.
I'm gonna just tell it slowly. Like everything you said is actually in the manga because Soga gambles one last time with Akagi, and because Akagi couldn't play mahjong anymore, like his because of his Alzheimer's, Soga proposed like they both had like from 1 to 9 pin the tiles, and it was
Right,
like
yeah, and I remember this part, yeah, because
yeah.
like at that point, like it's just like Soga realizes through the game that wow, Akagi doesn't even know how to. First of all, Akagi says as much, like I don't even know how to play mahjong anymore, and then like Soga realizes like not only does he not know how to play mahjong, he doesn't even know how this simple game that we just created works. He
No, he said Akagi doesn't even understand which number is higher anymore. Like he can't even tell numbers anymore. He was just matching the pictures. But this wasn't the
okay,
point. The point was after the game, Soga said to his like lackey, whatever, like the guy who was standing outside, he said like Akagi can die because and then he compared Akagi to an eagle or a hawk, and
right,
he
that has
said,
lost his
imagine
wings. I remember that part, yeah.
wings but had a broken beak. And he said, like, imagine like an eagle or a hawk with a broken beak. If he could talk like the human language, what would he say? He would say, kill me," because he has lost his natural talent. Like, and that's all that Akagi cared about, like his intelligence, his genius, and his natural ability to dominate the gamble or to figure out the game.
Right.
And so everything you said is correct. I just want to say it's already in the manga, and
Yeah.
I just want to come back to 10 because I think 10 is not that kind of genius who is like thriving with his like natural born abilities, intelligence, or his, you know what I mean. But 10 is actually thriving with understanding people, which is another kind of genius, I think, in
Yeah.
a different way. As you said, street smarts.
Yeah. For sure.
So I would say they are both geniuses, but in a different way. And I think that Akagi respects Ten. Uh, there's a lot of stuff to talk about, but I see
Yeah.
some people ask about Hiroyuki.
Yeah, I was about
Hiroyuki, you
I
want
was
to talk
like
about?
as you were winding down there, I was gonna like ask you Zemi's question of like what do we think about Hiroyuki?
You go first.
I go first? Okay. Well, first of all, I think Hiroyuki in 10 is a completely different character from Hiroyuki in Hero. Um they're
Of course.
they're completely different characters. But like it's a different author. He's writing him as a freaking Akagi stand-in, so that is what it is. But um as far as Hiroyuki in 10 goes, I like him as a character. I think he's very relatable. I think he's, just kind of like he's surrounded by geniuses and he's very smart himself. Don't get me wrong. He's a very smart kid himself, but he's trying to like match up to all these geniuses that are around him. And he's taking lessons from them. Like Akagi, lectures him a bunch of times about like I don't know, the meaning of life and like, like all this stuff. And he's like he's kind of almost the audience proxy, even though he's
Yeah,
very
yeah,
intelligent. he's almost kind of like, the like he's the one that kind of we can relate to and we can understand. Like he makes mistakes and we're like, oh, I get it, I understand why you made that mistake. Don't worry about it, Hiroyuki, and it's like it's very relatable. And his arc at the very in the last arc of 10 is also very relatable. He's like, trying to work a job but it has no meaning for him, and I forget exactly how it goes, but I just remember it was very relatable. Maybe you can expand upon that.
Yeah, I can. I remembered it actually very well. Um, what I have to say about Hiroyuki, it's basically he is like uh mm, he's like a little bit a weaker version of the fake Akagi.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Oh, in terms of like
because
playing with probability, you mean?
yeah, um,
Okay.
because Hiroyuki is the type of guy like he's obviously a smart kid. You know,
Right.
he he was probably good at school. He knows the numbers. He knows math. He believes in probability. He believes in logic. But the problem with Hiroyuki is, and Akagi explains that to him at the end of 10, that his logic, what he thinks is logic, is actually very limited. And he makes a gamble with him at the end. Because the problem with Hiroyuki is he doesn't understand what a gamble is.
Right.
For Hiroyuki, everything is like 2 plus 2 is 4. Everything for him is just like logic.
Yeah.
And he's crying to Akagi at the end of 10. He's telling him like, well, if I don't have a job, if I'm unemployed, society will look down on me. I'll be the worst. Everybody will, I'll be outcast. I have to have a job. I have to hang on to this job and everything. And Akagi tells to him basically like, Hiroyuki, that's why you have been stuck all these years at the same place and you haven't moved forward. Because he's too stiff. He's too
Right.
focused
He's too proper.
on his
I think that's
yeah,
the word that he
on his
uses.
yeah, on his own logic, you know?
Yeah.
And Akagi is trying to explain to him like he makes a gamble. It's a ridiculous gamble. It's basically like if I don't guess whatever, I don't know,
Yeah. Oh, I
I
remember this
will I
part. Yeah, I remember that one.
yeah,
It was like there's like there's just like, oh, I think it was all the Pinzu on the table that were left over from nine. Like
yeah.
one through nine, and like there were two one pin that like he took out, and he was like, all right, so if you can get the remaining two one pin, um like when they're all face down and shuffled like back to back, then uh I won't kill myself. you know
Yeah, and the first thing that Hiroyuki does, he goes through the numbers. Like, oh my God, it's such a low probability. It's not gonna happen. It's impossible. I don't want to lose an arm because he was betting an arm. I'm not gonna bet an arm because the probability is so low. And then Akagi just tells him like, Hiroyuki, that's why you're where you are because you're so focused on the like logic and the proper way of thinking. If you have a chance like this, just do it. Like, who's gonna bet on a fucking arm in a game like
right, yeah,
this?
just
If
go
if you
back on
lose,
your word if you lose.
yeah, go back to
Just
work.
fucking
And he
like
tells him,
I'm stuck here with a freaking what is it? There's something in his arm, like freaking like a
yeah,
an
yeah.
IV or
He says
something.
like,
Yeah, I'm not gonna
yeah,
freaking chase after you. Just run, like if you lose.
he's basically like, you have a little chance, even a chance, just to save somebody you care about. So just do it. Don't care about the like. Just figure it out later. And then he tells him like, that's the smarts. That's the smarts you always lacked. Like, you just have to learn to play it by the ear. Like he didn't get the whole picture of everything. He was always very focused on the game and the numbers as the fake Akagi. That's
Yeah.
that's what I get from Yuki, but at the
Mm,
same time that speech also changed Hiroyuki. That's why we have the sequel
exactly.
because
Yeah.
he
I'm so glad we do have the sequel. I just wish Hiroyuki's character was a little more consistent, but I am happy we do have the sequel. Um.
yeah, but I mean, Hiroyuki is more probably the most relatable character from all of the like for normal people like us. Maybe I'm pushing it with normal, but I mean,
In manner of
like you know what
speaking,
I
sure.
relatable. Like none of us is a fucking Akagi genius or anything, but
Right, of
Hiroyuki
course.
is like relatable. Not nobody's a yakuza boss,
Right.
but Hiroyuki is
Hope not.
just a guy trying to get by. So I think it's cool that there's a sequel where Hiroyuki quits his job and just takes the last words from Akagi to his heart. I think it's pretty good. It's pretty epic,
Yes,
and that's
yes.
why the, the new main character in the sequel.
Right.
That's all I have to say about Hiroyuki. I don't know if you have
Yeah.
anything to add.
Um, yeah, I mean, the fact that Akagi was able to like impart one last bit of wisdom for Hiroyuki and like pretty much just pinpoint exactly what was wrong with his life down to the like bare bones and just like, exactly like help him out of his particular situation, I feel like was really good. I'm just curious about so all you mean when you say that Hiroyuki and fake Akagi are similar is that they both play with probability? Um,
I think they're pretty similar um, types because I think that Akagi looks on them the same because the way he talks to fake Akagi like the only thing you know is to spout out these fucking numbers like shit out these numbers out of your mouth
right.
like he was more rude to the face fake Akagi but to Hiroyuki he was like explaining it a bit more what he actually meant with it like
Okay.
but I think they're both like the same archetype, like the
Yeah.
type of person who just like is so focused on the numbers and the logic that they don't see the bigger picture.
Right. Oh, I just had a weird, crazy thought. This is way
Yeah.
out of left field. But do you remember this was in the manga. I don't think it was in the anime, but when in the manga when when Akagi learned that Hiroyama Yukio, fake Akagi, had been killed by Washizu, he had this look on his face that was just like utter shock and just like I can't believe this. And that was the point when Akagi went from like, what do I care about this gamble to I'm gonna gamble against this guy. He killed fake Akagi. Do you think that Akagi in some way regretted not being able to either A, help fake Akagi with his life, or B, um prevent him from getting killed by Washizu by like ignoring him for so long? I don't know. That's just a crazy wild thought that I just had, but
It's
um
not crazy at all. That's a very good point. I've been confused by that for a long time.
yeah.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that. I have personally two explanations for it. Um, and I'm not sure, and they both might be wrong. My first instinct theory is that Akagi is shocked that somebody who could imitate him for so long and so many people believed that he is Akagi and that he played so well that he was just so easily and mercilessly killed by
Oh,
somebody.
yeah. It's kind of like a freaking Yamcha situation. Like, oh, he's so strong. How could he lose?
Yeah, especially because most people thought that he was actually Akagi. You know, like
Right.
he was carried, like he was like called Akagi all the time. The other one is, but this you can't prove this one, is that Akagi actually cares about people who are into gambling or into this rap playing stuff or into the underground Yakuza stuff, and that he actually cares about somebody who was playing mahjong for money to survive for the Yakuza who was just killed off so easily.
Mm.
And I don't know.
So you
I
so
don't know.
you in your opinion it wouldn't be like a personal thing. It wouldn't be like I care about fake Akagi. Yeah, now that I think about it, yeah, I have to agree with that. Because like Akagi didn't know Hirayama like on a personal level.
No, they didn't
So,
know each other. They only know each other through the game and through the
yeah. So
gambles.
yeah, you're right. It would have to be something like that. It would have to be like he was just so shocked that someone that was claiming to be him, that was able to get away with claiming to be him, died so easily to this monster. Um, and maybe that excited him. But yeah, because the next thing that we see in the very next chapter is Akagi, just being like, I sense something similar in this man. Like he talking about Washizu. Like I said, there's something in this man. Like he's weary. He is like, he's had so much success in his life, and I assume that like Yasuo and Ogi have explained to him like what Washizu is all about, like how he got so rich, like where he came from, and all this. So I have to assume that yeah, it must be that like Akagi like was shocked that Hiroyama of all people would lose in a gamble to this guy, and that kind of for one thing it showed how strong this guy is, Washizu, and for another thing it kind of um shows Akagi that like okay, this is a guy who's willing to do this. This is a guy who's willing to uh who's so confident in himself that he's able to get away with all this, and he's I kind of want to meet this man myself and gamble with him, and maybe that will be the thrill that I'm looking for.
But
So
Sonic, that was one of my two interpretations. The other one is that Akagi actually cares about, like, not really cares, but actually, I don't know how to say it, like that he has something for people who are playing honestly or gambling honestly. Because the whole series, you see Akagi saving like these innocent, like these naive people, starting from the
yeah, from Samu,
start,
yeah,
like with Nango, with Nango.
with Nanga,
Nango
yeah,
ganged
Nango,
up, ganged up by Yakuza. He saves him.
yeah.
Osamu ganged up by his co-workers. Akagi saves him against Urabe and the other saves. And maybe, but there's no way to like prove this, but maybe he met like the fake Akagi and saw like this honesty in him. Like, like a parent like cares for a child, or like an adult cares for a child, like
Mm.
things all look like fake Akagi was like playing this honest kind of thing, and he got killed, and he actually cared about that, because that would be the first person that Akagi had an interaction with and actually died, because he saved everybody else.
You know what? You're right. Yeah, yeah, that does make sense too. It was probably a mixture of those, actually. Yeah,
I can't tell, honestly. I can't tell. I've been thinking for many years. I can't tell which one it is.
it could be both. It could be both. It could be that like he was like he felt like he was that strong, and also he felt guilty for allowing Hiroyama to die. Um,
Yeah,
even though like
that would be the first person who actually Akagi knew and who died. You know
right,
what I mean?
exactly. Yeah. Someone that like he had interacted with and he had imparted some kind of wisdom to and wound up dying, you know. Perhaps he was like, how did that happen, like how did how could he have gotten to that point where he was willing to risk his life and he lost, so
Yeah. So I'm not sure, honestly. Maybe it's both. Maybe it's one or the other.
I think though, yeah,
um,
I think that's a lot more that's a lot more plausible than what I was saying, yeah, for sure.
but that's the great thing about the manga, is that we can like discuss it, talk about it, and we can never be sure. You know?
Right, yeah, and that's what's great about I don't know, literature in general, because manga is just another form of literature, really. Um, is that what's written on the page, is what it is, but it's about thinking about it and interpreting it and realizing it in your own way and like filling in the gaps on your own, because like the author can't explain everything. If he did explain everything, it would be freaking boring. So there's parts that you have to kind of like come to terms with and understand on your own. And it's
But
and it's interesting, and I feel like there's a lot of that leads way to conversations like this.
do you think there's one single truth and intent from Fukumoto that the
Hmm,
readers can
okay.
figure out? Like, or did he like let it like did he just write it ambiguously for people to discuss it forever?
Yeah, so did Fukumoto have that in mind when he wrote it? It's really hard to tell. It's really hard to tell. It's like one of the quotes I remember from Kaiji is that you kind of just like you start running first and then you think about what where you're running like after you start. And I feel like that could be Fukumoto like expressing like his kind of writing mindset. Like it's like, I just start writing and just whatever happens happens. But even then I would still have to think, you know, Fukumoto is a writer who understands his characters on a very deep level. Fukumoto is a writer who really because it's said about writers that like like I've heard it all the time like that like the characters kind of speak for themselves inside the writer's head. So the writer has like a idea in mind for of what a character is like, and that character kind of like talks through them onto the page. And so I have to assume that, particularly in that instance, Fukumoto did have some kind of idea in mind of like what Akagi was thinking at that moment, or else he wouldn't have drawn him that way, or else he wouldn't have drawn Akagi like looking all sweaty and like what, with wide eyes and stuff. I think he probably would have just had him looking stoic and cool if he didn't have a certain idea in mind of like what Akagi was thinking at that moment. I have
Do
to
you
assume.
it's like Fukumoto putting like a little bit of humanity
Oh,
into
definitely.
Akagi
Yeah.
for the audience to understand that he's not a fucking machine, he's not a fucking monster, he's also a human being
Yes.
at the end.
Yes, very much so. Yeah, I mean that's placed all throughout Akagi. Like there, like the majority of Akagi's character is that kind of like, robotic like monster. Like I'm just gonna do what I do. I'm just gonna play the way I play, and I'm gonna beat everybody mercilessly. But he does drop little hints here and there of Akagi's humanity, like when he saves people, when he when he cares about people, when he expresses his thoughts to people. Even the final arc of Akagi, where they play Tehombiki, he allows Osamu to like follow him along. Like he doesn't want to, but it's like he understands that Osamu cares about him. Um, and
Yeah, now that you mention Osama, I think that's the best proof that because
yes,
there is no other reason for Akagi to join the rigged game with the three other assholes who were ganging up on Osamu when he just joined, took their money,
right,
and in a way saved Osamu from that. Like, there was no reason for him to do that except like that he's pissed off that they're ganging up on Osamu.
exactly, yeah. I mean, he just he wanted to. I guess part of it also was like he wanted to like show them up. He wanted to yeah, he wanted to like assert his dominance in some way. You could say that too. But I mean,
Okay, I just got a question for you, which is maybe a little bit personal to you, but um, now that I mean, it doesn't matter at all. But I'm just curious, like Akagi at the end of 10 pretty much put his like own religious belief into what
oh,
life is and everything. Like a little bit kind of like reincarnation Buddhism stuff. Um, how do you look like as a religious person yourself?
newly religious. Um, how do so you're asking me how do I think about like what Akagi said about like how like when you die like your cells get like distributed into the earth and then that like it all like forms like reincarnation and some such. I That is a very personal question.
I'm sorry. That was a stupid question. I'm taking it back. I was just
I mean, I do like
maybe
talking about this kind of stuff. And I will say that I did like that really rang true with me when I read it initially because when I read it initially, like I was a ex-Christian who had like fallen away from his faith and was becoming more of an atheist. And and that kind of gave me hope that even though like I didn't believe in God, that like there could still be a reincarnation kind of process that could happen after you die. And I will say that that did, and I started to think like, oh, maybe there's quantum reincarnation, like, or something we don't know about. I don't want to make this a religious podcast,
No,
so I
I
won't
didn't. I
go.
didn't want
I
to.
won't go any
No, no,
further than that.
no.
Um,
I feel
I
bad. I feel bad
I
about
want to
asking
keep
about it.
this on
It just
Akagi,
came.
so I'm not gonna
Yeah,
say
yeah.
anything further.
I'm sorry. It just came to my mind because I was like getting the end of the manga and the like the Earth pictures and everything.
Yeah.
Um,
So let me ask you then. What did you what spoke to you about what he said?
well, to me personally, it spoke in a way that do we have like 7 more hours?
We can go as long as you want, man. There's no time limit on this.
No, no, it's basically like it's hard. It's hard to explain because no religion puts it as I look at it. I look at it that it's um like that everything is actually one.
Hmm.
If it Yeah,
Okay.
it's a weird kind of belief. I just
Hmm.
think that
Okay.
everything everything is one. So it actually spoke to me that um that I don't believe in death. I just think that everything we know, we experience, everything is just one thing in a cycle, karma, Buddhism, kinda.
Hmm.
Not
Okay.
not maybe not maybe spiritual reincarnation per se, but in a way like that everything is a cycle. But I also agree this is getting weird. I don't want to talk about this. I
Yeah,
want
yeah.
to
Let's.
get back
Although
to Pokemon.
one thought did just cross my mind. I don't want to linger on this subject too long. Um, it has to do with the beloved Hell arc of Akagi. Um, it was stated at the end of the Hell arc, the Jigoku Hen of
Yeah.
Akagi, that what what the readers had just experienced was a figment of was a post-death figment of Washizu's psyche that was created from his avidya, from his attachment to life. Like he was attached to life, and that attachment to life created a personal hell for him that only existed in his mind. Um does any of that fit with what you believe? Do you believe that like it could be possible for a person to be evil enough that they would that their attachment to their own life would cause them to have a post death experience where they in some sense like created their own hell? Do you think
Okay.
that could be
Um.
possible?
Okay. I'm gonna try to put it as shortly as I can. I believe that there's no evil.
I see.
I don't. I don't believe that Vashizu is evil. I
Hmm.
believe Vashizu is a very intelligent, smart man who saw World War II, who saw a lot of crazy stuff in his life, who was smart enough to predict the future of Japan after World War II, to put his investments into smart stuff, get rich. But the difference between Vashizu and Akagi is that Vashizu clings onto life. He's hungry all the time. He's hungry
Right.
for life. He's always looking for more. He keeps eating. He can't be. Like he can't. He's just so he just wants to live,
Right. So
and
badly.
he has like yeah, he has like this infinite like like he can't even imagine himself dying. Like he doesn't even think about death. It's something he's not thinking about at all. And on the opposite side, you have Akagi, who came to terms with death when he was playing the chicken run game
At
as a
13, yeah.
teenager. Yeah. So Akagi was already like fine with the concept of death at a very early age, while Washizu could never really and doesn't even want to think about it. He doesn't want to think about death. He doesn't like in his mind it's just
Yeah.
more, 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 feed,
I mean,
and
it's
keep
even
on like
stated that he envies those who are going to live longer than him. And
yeah,
that's
exactly.
part of the reason he kills them is because he loathes the young so much because they're going to outlive him. And so he can't allow that. And so he has to kill them before they outlive him so that he actually outlives them. And so I'm gonna have to disagree with you here. I feel like that's just evil. I feel I like maybe he wasn't always evil. Like the Washizu in the Washizu spin-off manga, he wasn't evil, but I feel like at a certain point his mind became so twisted enough that he did become evil at a certain point. And I understand it's an understandable kind of level of evil that you could that you can wrap your head around, like how someone could reach that. But I have to say, like, maybe it's because you're a Buddhist and I'm a Christian, but it's like I just can't I can't see Washizu as anything other than evil in the Washizu arc of Akagi. I just can't.
Okay, that's completely fine. It's just different beliefs, different philosophy. I don't believe in the concept of evil.
Okay.
I don't think anybody does like harm or anything bad just because of it. Okay, there, no, I mean there are exceptions. There are like sick people in the brain, like of course, like there's like you know what I mean. There's like sick people
Right.
who are sick. But I mean anybody who's like healthy in the brain and appears to be evil has some other motivations you don't understand about his personality, his life, why he's doing that. So I don't judge characters as good or evil. I just don't do that. I just think Bashizu had his own life. He's a lot older than Akagi. Akagi had his own life, and it's two different life views, like just clashing together. It's just
Right.
two different, just two different views at life clashing, and that's how
Sure.
I don't put. Um, but we should get back to
Yeah. But
Pokemon.
like what is that? Adabob is similar. Well, as he just said in the chat, like Akagi isn't good. Like
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. Like Akagi isn't. I mean, he's more good than Washizu a little bit. Just like he helps people sometimes when he feels like it, you know. But it's like obviously it's not like and in general you can't say that like this person is purely good and this person is purely evil. Like there's gradients, there's levels to it, and
Okay.
who's to judge? Who among us on earth can judge?
Exactly, and I'm just gonna get a little bit more into it because I think most people forgot this point of the story is that when Washizu is talking about how he brought Japan back from the ruins, and that is also true, you know,
Yeah.
after the Second
Oh,
World War,
okay.
he was the one he's the one who built Japan up again.
Okay.
So even though when he's old and crazy and is killing young people, yeah, he did. But in his mind, he's the one who saw Japan in ruins. Akagi wasn't even born. Everything destroyed, and he was the one who brought it back. Not
Yeah.
him alone, but he's the one who was building the country, and that's why he has this kind of pride, and that's why he looks down on the younger people because he thinks in his mind that I'm the one who saw this country in fucking trash and ruin, and I'm the one who fought for it to come back. So that's why I'm great. And that's
Yes.
why you younger generations are shit.
Yes.
That's his mind. And that's why I don't think that he's evil. He's just a different kind of
Okay. I am
guy.
very hesitate. I'm very tempted to ask you a question.
Sure, go ahead.
This is a kind of a morality type of question, and I don't know. Is this like we have a lot of viewers right now, so this must be interesting to some people on some level. So I don't know. I don't necessarily feel like it's a bad thing that we're going down this train of thought. So
Yeah,
I'll just ask you this question. So you're saying, and don't take any offense to this, please. Don't take any offense to this. I'm not saying anything like you're saying what you're saying. And I'm coming at it from a different perspective, from a different theological perspective. And so what I'm hearing you saying is that Washizu is very like he built Japan from you know he helped recreate Japan and all this and you know and he thinks very highly of himself. So my question to you is, does that excuse is that an excuse for him to murder? Is that does
no,
that excuse all of his murder in
no,
that
of course
case?
not. Of
Right.
course it doesn't excuse. I'm just trying to um uh, my whole point was that you can't just label somebody as evil or good. I was just trying to like look through the eyes of Vashizu and kind of try to understand why he became what he is, what he was at that point. That he wasn't proactively going to cause damage and harm. It's just his life was shaped that way that he became the Vashizu we saw at the end of Akagi. And
Yes. Okay. Yeah, and
that's my whole
right,
point.
and I understand that, yeah, and it's like yeah, that's it's very clear how he got there, you know, and he like he just he got so egotistical and he literally believed he was a god at some point. He like at points in Akagi, he was literally shown like having like freaking like gods like Buddha, Jesus, like Yahweh, like all of them like bending the knee to him, freaking like all bowing down to him, freaking like giving him everything he wanted. He believed that he was a literal god at some point. And so I would say that so I'll say this, in Washizu's mind, it was justification for him to commit murder. Absolutely. It like in what according to what Washizu was thinking, like he did all of this for Japan. He raised Japan up from the bottom, from the base, like just completely from scratch. And so he is allowed to kill people because he's such a good person. Now, my statement is I believe that despite the fact that he like raised Japan up from the brink of despair by himself, that does not excuse what he did. And I don't think there's many people who would argue with me on that, but it's
I'm not
like,
arguing as well. I'm not saying that it's an excuse. I'm just trying, as I said, I'm just saying, trying to say Vashizu is not inherently evil. It's just how his life has shaped him.
okay,
If he
and
maybe if he lost a few times, you know, if he had some difficulties, if he lost in some of his investments, if he faced the rock bottom a few times in his life, he might have been more compassionate and understanding. But
I
his life
see.
is simply, his life is simply, my country is in ruin. Everything I predicted and everything I put my money and effort into worked. Now I'm old. I have all the money that I ever wanted. What are these young people doing? I fucking hate them. They're not like me. They're not building the country. Uh, it's not an excuse. I'm not excusing him. I'm just saying that I don't think he's inherently evil.
Hmm.
That's what I was trying to say. I was trying to say that he's just shaped different by his life.
Okay, that's where we're gonna have to agree to disagree. We're just gonna
Yeah,
have to
well,
agree to disagree on that one because
that's why we have. That's why we have.
I
That's
guess
why
it
we talk.
depends on how you define evil. Also, um, I would say that Washizu definitely qualifies, but whatever. We'll just leave it there. Um,
it would be boring if we would agree on everything. So it's
Yeah, yeah. If we just said the same things over and over, yeah. Um, whatever. Let's talk about something else. What are does anyone have any questions for us?
fine. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Does anyone? I hope y'all have been liking this stream. Like we've talked about a lot today. Like we've pretty much talked about everything and maybe not everything, but a lot of stuff in Akagi.
There's
And
a lot. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. If you would like to see us like do this like weekly or like this to be a thing, it would be nice if you'd let us know. Then we're
right.
gonna do it like once a week at least, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I specifically requested like Saturday mornings off at work, so that I'm able to do this. I might have to do it a little earlier. Like we started this at noon my time, and I would probably have to do it at like 10 my time some days because like I might have to go to work at 12. So it wouldn't be this long every time for sure. But yeah, I mean, we were just thinking of like maybe like riffing on a different manga each week, like maybe just as you heard today, just as like we're just going into the manga, saying what we think of it, saying what we like, what spoke to us, what freaking what interpretations we made from the manga, and kind of just like expanding upon it. And I mean, if you enjoyed listening to us, like a lot of people, we probably got like 6 or 7 follows as we were talking. So I mean, a lot of people or some people must have enjoyed it. So, um, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
don't, don't be shy. Just like write it like in the chat because this was like we're testing it out. If people like listening to us, if they don't, we're not gonna do it. Like if they do, we're gonna continue it, of course. But it was a test, so anything feedback you can give us would be pretty much appreciated in the chat, please.
absolutely, yeah. Um, I mean, yeah, it was very fun. I guess this is the point where we should tell people about your financial
No,
situation. No,
no, I
no.
don't want to talk.
Okay.
No, it's been too fun for me and too like it was a really nice talk, and I don't want to like maybe some other podcast, but it's fine for now. It's fine.
Can
I
I
don't
tell
want to
them
talk
to
about it. I
follow?
just want to
Can
see.
I tell you them to become your patron if they want to? I
Well,
think I
first
already
of
did,
all,
but
yeah, but first of all, they have to check out the manga we do. If they like the manga, then they can support us. We do it like twice every day now at the moment. But if you don't, then just ignore it. I also just enjoy like talking with Sonic on this podcast.
and in
So
general.
yes, any kind of yeah, in general, just kind of feels nice to talk. If any kind of feedback, please. Your silence is making me insecure.
I don't know. People are shy. Um, maybe that freaking good and evil talk that we just had freaking like shock them to their core, and
Yeah,
now they're
we should
dumbfounded and they don't know what to think.
we shouldn't have went there. We should have stayed with manga.
I guess so. Um, oh well, lesson learned, I guess. Um,
Mm.
but I don't know, but while we were talking about that, like as I was freaking ranting, like, and you were ranting, like we got like freaking like I don't know 7, 8 follows, like just during
Oh,
that
oh,
period.
oh, 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 we got feedback. We got feedback.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay. So we're
Okay.
gonna keep
Good.
going.
All of a sudden, everybody's freaking. I don't know. Maybe there was a stream lag or something.
Yeah, there's a delay. There's a delay. Okay, so we can keep doing it. So it was fine.
All right.
Oh, oh, oh! Look at this! Look at this! Oh God!
Yes.
Yeah,
Now the now the pr- now the love is coming in.
yeah.
All right.
Okay, so you want to have one final topic before we let the people go?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm good to. What should we talk about? I mean, I guess we should keep it on the discussion of Akagi and 10 specifically.
Or
Um,
do you wanna like just touch a little bit upon Kurosawa a little bit? I don't know how much you're into Kurosawa yourself because you haven't translated it yourself.
I think we should save that for next time,
Yeah,
personally.
that's a big that's a big topic.
There's a
You're right.
lot to
Yeah.
talk about there. There's a lot to
Yeah.
talk about there. We did brush upon it briefly during our discussion, but I think there's enough content there for another podcast, really.
Yeah,
So,
you're right. We're gonna do it next week. So,
um,
like to sum up with Akagi.
um, oh, isn't it cool how Ichikawa is blind and he is still able to freaking cheat?
And you know the thing
Isn't
about
that
it
weird?
is yeah, but the thing about it, it's believable.
Yeah. I mean, just the
You
fact that
know,
he is able to freaking like switch of like he must know exactly where his wall is, right? He must know exactly where his wall is in position to him, and like down to the millimeter to be able to freaking like um,
but
switch a
it's still
tile like that quickly. Because like I've tried it with my eyes, and it's difficult. It's very difficult. So imagine doing that blind. I don't know.
I know, but you know what's it's fascinating that it's still believable. You know, I wasn't going like when I heard about Ishikawa and like oh he's blind mahjong whatever. I wasn't going like oh that's bullshit. He can't do that. He can't do that when he's blind. I was like oh yeah yeah he actually can like with enough practice he can do that. Like it made sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, if you know exactly where your wall is, and you know exactly how long the tiles are, and you know exactly where to move your hand, I mean, I feel like part of it is that like when we first watched Akagi, like we didn't know mahjong that well, so it was just kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, with a lot, but like practically, if you try it yourself, I don't know,
You know,
whatever. It's whatever. It was cool. It was definitely cool. It's just like I'm definitely not
no.
the only person on the internet who has said that's kind of crazy that he could do that when he's
No,
blind.
no, that's where you're wrong. On this one,
I
I'm
am the
gonna
only person.
disagree.
Okay.
You're not the only person, but I personally am gonna disagree very hard because Ishikawa doesn't see, so he lost one of his senses, which means all of his other senses are much more sensitive,
Okay, so
and I can
oh,
actually
so he uses echolocation to figure out where the tiles are in relation to him. I'm sorry, I'm playing with you a little bit, but okay, so
not
so
just
how do his other senses help him know where the walls are?
well, not just echolocation. It's one of the possibilities, but also like when people put a wall, there's a little bit of like a little bit of like air being pushed towards. Like I just can't see it. Man, I've been playing Metal Gear Solid games my whole life. I can just see Ishikawa being like a come on.
Okay.
It's it's in the realms of possibility.
Sure.
It's not
Yeah.
it's not magic.
It's
It's not
not
magic.
impossible. Yeah. It's better than freaking. It's still something someone could conceivably do instead of just like I don't know tiles appearing out of midair or something like that would be like oh whatever. But like okay, whatever. That's
When when I watched it, like instead of being like, "Oh my god, that's bullshit," what I thought like, "Oh my god, this guy's like 90 years old. He spent like 50 years like playing mahjong every day, all day. He used his other senses to like imagine the walls in his mind, and he uses every sense to like, you know."
yeah. Oh, one aspect of the drama that I really liked, the Akagi drama was they kind of like had like Akagi or Ichikawa like for the most part he played totally normal. There were like little teeny like seconds where you would see him like kind of like feeling for where a tile is. Like he would like put his finger out and then the tile wouldn't be there, so he would reach it further a little bit and grab it. And that was a nice little touch.
But
That,
here's another thought. Exactly because he's blind, it can also be an advantage for him.
an advantage
Yes, because
because okay,
because
explain.
his mind, his mind, his brain is only like it's only focused on the tiles and on the information. He his eyes aren't getting distracted by anything else. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, he's not distracted by a cute girl in the corner. He's like focused solely on the mahjong table. I got you. Yeah.
Something like that. But you know, like it's not just like there's also like other blind characters and other fictional stories, and exactly because they are blind, they can focus on like the mind games and stuff in their mind more.
Yeah. I mean, sure. Um,
You brought him up. Sorry.
yeah, it's okay. Like, I mean, we needed another topic, and that's what came to mind. It's like, um, yeah, no, it could be a freaking advantage. I don't know, but I feel like I feel like the most badass part of Ichikawa is the fact that he's able to play so well and so consistently, even though he's blind. I feel like that's what's badass about him. Not necessarily that he has a leg up because he's blind. Um, but I can see like I've watched like blind YouTubers like Tommy Edison on YouTube, and it's really interesting how they
Yeah,
navigate life and what they think about. Have you watched him?
yeah, I have.
Have you?
It's
Okay, yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah. Yeah, no, it's
it's
really
amazing.
fascinating, like learning about like because it
And
would
the
it
best thing,
seems like it would be
the best thing,
so
the best thing,
horrible, but and
the
it
best
kind
thing
of
about him.
is, but it's like you can still it, you can still get by. Like it's your life is not over. It's like and I really respect people who have the mental capacity to be able to overcome a handicap like that.
And
Or I don't know
you
if I
know the
should
best
use the
thing
term
about him.
handicap, disability.
It's
Um
fine, but the best thing about him is that he's always so positive and smiling.
yes, that's what I love
I
about him.
fucking love
Yeah.
this guy.
Yeah. And he's
Yeah.
he's always
Also, I
cracking
wouldn't.
jokes, making, you know,
Yeah, and he's
making
talking
little
about himself,
puns and
and
stuff.
that's what I mean. That's what I mean. I don't think it's like inherently an disadvantage. It's just like they lost one sense, but then they can unlock some other part of their brain and think about stuff.
Mm.
You know, like
Yeah, there's more room in their brain for other things. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure. And
yeah,
as
so,
far as life goes, yeah. Like just being like not having that constant information actually does give you more room to think about other things for sure. And
sometimes I wish I was blind.
do you really? I no, you don't.
No, I
You do
don't.
not. You wouldn't be able to read manga if you were blind. What are you talking about? Oh, this reminds me of one time. This reminds me of one time when oh my god, when I was playing the Akagi DS game on stream one time, and like I was like talking about Ichikawa, and I was like, oh, I don't even remember what I said. It was like when I yeah Denji was in the chat, and I was asking him like how Kurosawa was going or something, and like I was I don't even know how it came up with it, but I was like, like for some reason, like I like the thought crossed my mind, like, oh, is Denji blind? I should really make sure that Denji isn't blind. Oh, I'm so sorry if you're blind. If you're actually blind, I'm gonna profusely apologize. And freaking, he just like laughed and he was like, yeah, all those Braille Kurosawa chapters that I've been putting out, yeah, good one, Sonic. I don't know,
How
that
did
just came to mind.
how did how, what the
Yeah.
fuck? I have no comment. That's uh,
Um.
um, want- like, while we were talking, yeah. One more thing about Akagi. What do you think about the famous or infamous scene with Akagi with the gun shooting the kids?
Oh, in episode 4.
Yeah.
um. what do I think about that? I think it's good that he didn't kill them. Um,
Do you think he would have killed him if they like if it escalated?
um, hey, we just got a cheer.
Oh,
1,000
oh,
bits.
that's my guy. That's from
Yeah.
that's Dave from our escalation group.
Oh, is
He
it?
is redrawing. Yeah, he's redrawing for us. He's a great guy. He's the reason why Koizumi has been so fast lately. Um, a lot of thanks to Dave.
Oh, nice. Well,
He's a really
cool.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Glad
so
he's
so
helping you out so much. And yeah, good on him for
yeah, yeah,
doing all
yeah.
that.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah. Um, yeah, do I think he would have do I think Akagi would have killed those kids? I think he was smart enough to know that his intimidation would work and he wouldn't have to.
Yeah, I also think so. But it would be interesting if
It would be a different manga. I don't think people would I
it
don't
would
know.
be
I,
it
I
would
think
be
Fukumoto works in general. The thing about them is no one actually dies, save a few well, people do die, but like as far as like the main characters like killing somebody or or like the outcome of a major gamble, like it's like if there actually was a death involved in those moments, like I feel like the characters would be poisoned as a result. And so it's a good thing that Fukumoto doesn't do that. um
yeah, but it also comes back to the genius Takagi. He knew 100% that they would back up. Like I don't think he was like I don't think he would have shot like Ichikawa at that moment. I don't think he would have shot the kids. I just think it was him gambling psychologically with the characters, and he knew he would come out on top.
right, probably, yeah. He just knew.
Like he read them. He knew how they would react, and he was just, like it's the same with the first mahjong game with Yagi. He can just read people in the kind of psychological
Yeah.
warfare.
Oh, I know. I know something I can talk about as we're closing up here. I mentioned this in the Discord, so some people might already know about it, but I freaking like I was bored at work and there was a new girl, and she was like not like a girly girl. She was like, she seemed like she could handle herself. So I felt comfortable. And so I like we were just bored, so I just freaking like emphatically recapped all of Akagi to her. Just like as we were standing around waiting for customers, I just freaking like just told her about all of Akagi that I could. She didn't know any mahjong, so I freaking like just told her the first part and then this part here and then that part there. And she never came back. She quit as soon as she got in her car. I don't know if it was related, but yeah, I don't know. Not a funny
Well,
story, but it's it
I,
happened.
I don't think somebody I don't think somebody would quit a job just because somebody
I don't
talks
know. I
about
think I might have scared her with all the freaking yakuza and gun and gambling talk. So I don't know. But she was enthralled though.
well,
Like I feel like in the moment she was like really interested and she was like really excited to hear what was coming next. She was really I could tell just like in the look in her eyes. She was like really, and she was like responding. It wasn't like oh wow, oh geez, oh no. It was like oh okay, oh wow. It was like she was actually with it. So it was like, if I got a sense that she was like not on board with it, then I would have stopped. But no, for whatever reason, she was enjoying it, and she like, I even asked her afterwards, like, did I freak you out with all the Akagi talk? And she was like, no. But for whatever, I don't know. So maybe it wasn't related. I don't know, but it's still something that I fucking thought about, and I was like, did I scare her away by talking about Akagi?
Well, Sonic, you're an adult. If she's also an adult, she could have just said like, um, she could have just said like, she could have just avoided you or just like said like, yeah, whatever and stuff. But if she engaged, it's not like, just don't think about it. It's
Yeah,
I also talk.
it's
I
just
also
such.
talk like it's normal to talk about stuff you like with colleagues at work.
I
Like,
know.
come on.
Yeah, and like I thought it would like I've told it to I've recapped Akagi to people before, and it has gone okay. It was just such a huge deal because now we only have like four people at Subway. And so I'm having to work like 50 hours a week, and it's like, oh, I wish he's still here. Like if I hadn't told her about Akagi, would she still be here? It's just like that doubt in my mind.
I don't think so. I think people have other worries in life and other maybe another opportunity. Like maybe some better job. Just like don't think about it. Like I wish that some of my colleagues at my past job would talk about something, some fun stuff with me about stuff they like.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, it's
I'm
all
like,
just
I
small
don't know.
talk. It's all just, oh, how you doing? How's the weather?
Yeah,
How's
so don't think about it, man.
yeah.
It's all fine. It's all
Yeah.
fine. So let's talk about the next episode of our podcast. Will it be the
Yeah.
same time?
What should we talk about? Should we talk about Kurosawa?
Oh, we have so many things to talk about. We can also talk about other manga except Fukumoto. There's many topics we'll cover, but what's gonna be the time slot? Is it gonna be the same time next week or?
I don't even know, man. It's like I got today off because Dylan worked 10 hours today. And I'm thankful for that, but you know, I don't want to make him do that every week. Um it's like I'm just gonna have to see what my schedule is like next week and see if there's any but like at the very least, like it's either gonna be at 10 o'clock or 12 o'clock my time. So it's like, and it might only be an
But
hour if I have to rush off to work afterwards, but
yeah, it's fine. So next time it's gonna be Kaiji, I suppose.
you think so?
Well, it's like the natural, like we talked about Akagi, then we go to Kaiji.
Yeah.
But Kaiji will take maybe like 3 hours.
3 hours. Yeah,
You
there's
bet.
a lot. There's freaking seven, no, six parts of Kaiji.
Yeah, so you better be sick next Saturday.
I better be sick. I better call in sick. Um, I'll see what I can do. I'll see if I can get it off again, or maybe come in at 3 instead. Um,
Well, I'll be home all day, so for me it's fine at whatever time. I'm glad it was kind of successful. People liked it, so we're gonna keep doing it. I'm happy.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I had a great time today, and it sounds like everybody else did too. I mean, uh, yeah, I mean, we still have a lot of viewers, like 10, so that's pretty good.
No, we have at least 20 more episodes to talk about.
Oh, no, I'm saying we have like 10 viewers right now,
Oh yeah, but
which is a lot. I normally only get like two. So that's like, for, for this channel, that's like, oh my God, people must love this.
yeah, but I mean, better 10 cool, great viewers than 10,000.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I could never be one of those streamers that's just like that's freaking like blocking people in his chat and just like freaking like just like there's so much text on the screen that you can't even make out any of it. I like having a chat that's like, I can talk to, like that's slow, that I can, we can have like a discussion of some
No,
kind.
this is very chill. It's very chill. I enjoyed it a lot,
Yes.
honestly. anybody who actually knows me, tomorrow there's gonna be a Kirinji, there's gonna be a Koizumi. Um, yeah, I'm also actually like scanlighting if you didn't know.
Right. He has a
Some other
Patreon. You
stuff.
should follow it. Oh, sorry, I'm not supposed to talk about that.
Don't Patreon me if you don't know what I do.
He needs money. Oh,
Please,
sorry,
please
I shouldn't
enjoy.
have said that either.
Let's. I feel uncomfortable noises right
Okay,
now.
sorry. Jeez, I can't even. This whole freaking whatever.
Wait,
It's
wait,
fine. It's
wait,
fine.
wait, wait for the third podcast. We're gonna drop
Okay.
the bomb.
All right. If you want, I mean, whatever. That's Rinshan for you.
It's it's me. It's Rinshan. It's
Okay.
hey guys. Yeah, so it's been great. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Sonic. It was a great discussion. I even like learned something new about Fukumoto work, which I had never thought about. It was a
Yeah,
great night, and I'm looking forward to the next podcast.
absolutely. Me too, man. This was fun. I love
Yeah,
having discussions like this. I don't get to have them often, but when I do, I go ham. So it's great.
yeah. So let's wrap it up. It's 2 hours and 50 minutes. It's been great, guys. Thank you so much for listening to us. I can't believe that people actually listen to us to manga bums.
Yeah. Title in title in progress. Working title. I don't know. We could
So we
go with
get
that forever though. I don't know. It's a decent name.
right now we're manga bums. It's fine.
We're bums, yeah. Just two bums talking about manga.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna wrap it up. That's more. Thank you, Sonic. Thank you to the listeners and everybody. See you next week. We're gonna talk about Kaiji.
All right. Sounds like a
Signing
plan.
off.
All right. Catch
Thanks,
you later,
everyone,
everybody.
and good night. Have a good time. Bye.
You too.